So let's consider more about pragmatism. How is a pragmatist different than a narcissist? How is So a pragmatist is a real person. He's real. He sincerely loves God. I'm talking about most likely. He sincerely loves God. He loves people. He wants the lost to be saved. However, he is wrongly convinced that the results of something determine its validity. If people make professions of faith, if churches are planted, if nationals are trained for ministry, the means which he takes to cause that to happen in his mind are justified. So a narcissist is not a real person. He is only sincere about his desire for praise for those things. Okay, number two, a pragmatist will receive correction. He can, pragmatist. He feels empathy, compassion for others, his family, as well as others, those in ministry. He may even feel unworthy for what he perceives God is doing, even though God's not really doing it. He's manipulating it through a pragmatistic philosophy. His philosophy of missions has undoubtedly created false converts and fake results because of what he has done and not despite what he's done. A narcissist will not receive correction, and he has no genuine empathy for others. So what are some examples of what a pragmatist may do that produces falseness? Listen, I understand this is a big charge. This is a charge against a massive character flaw that whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, it could be that your entire missions program, maybe not, maybe part, maybe not at all. But remember the correctability aspect. It could be, because I know that all across the board, all across independent Baptist churches, I was on the mission field for 13 years. I saw this firsthand. Other people saw this. Wisdom and discernment saw this, okay? Pragmatism produces false and fakeness. So what are some examples of what pragmatists may do that produce falseness? Number one, he raises money for ministry instead of letting his ministry grow as his people give. Number two, we're going to run through these. He has to outfit his ministry like an American church. He's in Africa, he's in Asia, he's in South America, but he cannot be content with the biblical pattern for evangelism, discipleship, church planting. By going and preaching the gospel, he has to have aids for those attempts. Number three, he views either the American way of doing things or the national culture itself as being the ultimate determiner of what they do. For pragmatism, the end result validates how you got there. So he interprets the Bible's precepts, patterns, and principles as negotiable or flexible to the culture. Seasoned missionary questioned me one time about the wisdom of confronting an African elder, knowing that it is a cultural sin which will not accomplish what I hoped, confronting an African elder. I told him I checked myself before making the decision by asking myself three questions. Is it biblical? Is it spiritual? Is it wise? He said that what I did was biblical and spiritual, but it was not wise. It was a useful and helpful rebuke I got from that missionary. It really was. And I learned from much insight into culture and the missionary's perception of what to do and what not to do. Even so, listen, based his judgment of unwise on the national's culture and not on biblical responsibility. All right. Number 4, he frequently uses people and resources which nationals could never use. The goal of missions, biblically speaking, is to commit to faithful men the work of the ministry, who shall be able to teach others also to achieve an autonomous and indigenous ministry. Ephesians 4, 2 Timothy 2, read and review. If the national follows the example of a pragmatic missionary, he can never have an autonomous or indigenous ministry. He can never have a ministry without purse strings attached. Number 5, he pays nationals for ministry work. In what independent Baptist church, tell me, pastor, would we ever find a pastor who pays his Sunday school teachers, who pays his bus captains to help him in ministry? Hey, even if you make the argument that the national is in training to be a pastor or even is a pastor, what pattern are we creating for other nationals to start churches? Does not 1 Corinthians 9 tell us that it is from the church ministry in which the minister labors, that ministry itself, that he should reap from them that which is carnal? It does. Put a little plug in here for a follow-up video series, which we'll do at some point in the future. Another gfftabletalks.com. Please visit there. Another series for GFF Table Talks, Missionary and His Money. We'll get that up and you'll be able to see that. Okay, number 6. He spends more time working on the nuts and bolts of making ministry work than he does on planting and watering and allowing God to bring about spiritual increase. So